Just a couple of days ago, I talked about the state of the Absolute Universe just a couple of months in. Very, very early takeaways from what they are doing at Absolute DC with our good friend Jim. And I noticed there was an article, I think it's on CBR, talking about the Ultimate Universe almost a year in. Certainly the inspiration for what Scott Snyder and company are doing over at DC with the Absolute Universe is the Ultimate Universe. They kind of did it first. DC tried to copy this a couple times with their All-Star Universe and their Earth 1 stuff. Absolute seems to have taken a little bit harder than that. People seem to be liking it, and people are certainly enjoying Marvel's Ultimate Universe. Now, I don't agree with everything this particular author said, but I do believe it's a good starting point to have a conversation. How is the Ultimate Universe 1 year in? We've still got another 6 months before the Maker returns, and that does have a part to play in some of my criticisms or critiques of what's going on in Marvel's Ultimate Universe. Let's hear what CBR had to say about this. Marvel's Ultimate Universe has gotten off to an incredibly strong start, with readers thoroughly invested in each of the books released month to month, with each title expanding and exploring the brand new universe and brand new versions of classic Marvel characters. This alternate universe is worthy of standing alongside the best of the mainline Marvel Universe titles. The first year of the Ultimate Marvel books has been a staggering success, with near universal acclaim for all titles released. With new books and characters on the horizon, it is clear the Ultimate Universe is here to stay, and with the quality of the first year of stories, the future is looking bright for Earth 6160 and its heroes. I'm not quite as rosy as TPR is on the Ultimate Universe. There's certainly a title I'm enjoying, and I do think probably Ultimate Spider-Man is Marvel's best ongoing title. It's competing with Incredible Hulk. Now, neither of them are particularly awesome at the moment. Marvel has normally had a better ongoing series, for the past 5 years than what's kind of going on now. But I do think Ultimate Spider-Man, pretty darn good. The other books, I have a little bit different feeling on those. It's a lot of weird stuff. They don't really seem to coalesce into one functioning universe. Now, the other Ultimate Universe titles I do think are a bit more of a mixed bag. I don't think this is universally praised. I've heard plenty of people say this isn't quite doing it for me because it is quite slow, and it feels like essentially every title, but maybe the Ultimates, is just at a standstill waiting for the Maker return after 18 months or whatever. They're just kind of in a holding pattern and not doing a whole lot. Now, as far as because there are sales associated with the Ultimate Universe, it's definitely here to stay. I don't know if you recall this. I bet this guy hasn't been reading comic books all that long. The first iteration of the Marvel Ultimate Universe was far more successful than this one. It was absolutely hot. It was destroying all the sales out there, and it didn't last. It didn't even make it a decade. So this is not here to stay. So enjoy it while you have it. If you're enjoying it, absolutely support it. But do not expect this to be around for the long haul, because once this starts to fail, they'll just put all their efforts back into the mainline Marvel 616 universe, because that's literally what they do. I'm certainly not quite as high as CBR is on this one. I don't think it's an incredibly strong start. In fact, I think it's mostly boring to bad, with the exception really of Ultimate Spider-Man. Spearheading the bold new direction of the Ultimate Universe, writer Jonathan Hickman has taken a fresh new approach to the iconic web crawler in Ultimate Spider-Man, placing an older Peter Parker, a husband and father, in the midst of a world unrecognizable to readers, has made for some incredibly potent storytelling. Readers were surprised by the unexpected focus on certain characters in Peter's life, namely Uncle Ben, who was alive and a major player in the first year of the Ultimate Spider-Man. Now, saying that this world is unrecognizable, I think, is a pretty enormous stretch. Every character that you would expect to be in there is there, and they're pretty recognizable, other than really Black Cat, who they've done a race swap on. But otherwise, all the characters from the regular Marvel universe are there, except for Aunt May. Otherwise, they're all there. It's not unrecognizable. It's very, very familiar. And I think that's one of the reasons that people really enjoy Ultimate Spider-Man, because it is familiar, but it's different because Peter Parker is an adult. He wasn't feeling fulfilled. He got the orb or whatever, and a message from Iron Lad, decided to fulfill his destiny of becoming Spider-Man, but this time he's married and he has kids. It's the version of Peter Parker Spider-Man that basically everyone has ever wanted since One More Day and the enormous mistake that Marvel Comics made in the past. We're finally get it in this package. It's a good book, and it's a good-looking book, especially when Marco Cicchetto is doing the art on it. I wasn't loving the David Messina fill-in work, and he's the guy that's been doing all the fill-in work. I think it's mostly because that first and second issue were just slice of life stuff. The first one is like date night, Peter and MJ out with Harry and Gwen Stacy, and it's like people's reflections in wine glasses and the reflections in everything, really. And it got really, really boring really, really quick. The second issue he did was very much familiar and kind of the same. The third one he did was another slice of life book. And then the fourth issue that David Messina filled in on, there was actually Spider-Man in the book, and a little bit of action. And then I was like, oh, David Messina's art's pretty good here, because he was actually doing something. There's some superheroics, and there's been an extreme lack of that within the book. As much as I like seeing Peter Parker married with kids, which we don't actually see all that much of, it's there, but it's not really focused in on. At least it hasn't been for like the last 6 months. It's mostly about Ben Parker and J. Jonah Jameson starting up their own like upstart vlog or something like that. The lack of Spider-Man actually going out there and stopping crimes has been quite noticeable. He hadn't actually done that at all until, I think, issue number 11, which was an enormous breath of fresh air. And it's weird that you're talking about a superhero comic book and Peter Parker Spider-Man stopping a bank robbery feels like a breath of fresh air, but that's not what it felt like. Me personally, Ultimate Spider-Man, when it's good, it's really good. And when it's not good, it's just kind of boring, but perfectly fine, because I am getting a version of Peter Parker that I actually want. And I do find that enjoyable. So I like Ultimate Spider-Man. I think it's one of the strongest, if not the strongest, ongoing title at Marvel Comics. But it would be so much better if Peter Parker were actually out there as Spider-Man fighting crime. And maybe if we got a little bit more of that family life stuff that I think a lot of people were clamoring for over the years. But otherwise, I think Ultimate Spider-Man, certainly the sales are there. I think a lot of people are enjoying it, likely because they're getting the version of Peter Parker they always wanted. Pete Momoko has brought a bold new vision to the X-Men for the Marvel Universe. Instead of focusing on the familiar mutants of the mainline X-Men, Ultimate X-Men introduces brand new characters facing entirely new threats, all wonderfully rendered in Momoko's fluid and lush art style. The story follows up a group of young girls at a Japanese high school who slowly uncover a chilling plot involving a mutant cult and a terrifying new version of the Shadow King. Exciting action, interpersonal drama, terrific art, and unexpected storytelling all serve as major reasons for fans to pick up Ultimate X-Men. And maybe you want to sell that one, but I would say don't pick it up if you like the X-Men, because it's not an X-Men book. I believe it's my good friend Jim from Weird Science that said they should call it Ultimate Runaways, and he's absolutely right. It really has nothing to do with X-Men, and that's the biggest turnoff to the book. I'm not adverse to Pete Momoko's art at all. In fact, I'm not even adverse to her writing style, which it sounds like she's not really writing most of it. The translator is actually doing most of the storyline stuff. But I like the Peach Momoko Demon Days, Demon Wars stuff that she was doing, where she was incorporating a lot of elements of Marvel lore into more traditional, like Japanese parables and fairy tale like storytelling, and kind of combining all that. I thought that was a really good series, and it was easy to follow and it was enjoyable. But I knew what I was getting there. When I opened up the first issue and I was like, Ultimate X-Men, and I was like, what is this? This isn't X-Men. It's not even a superhero book. There are a few superhero elements in it, but mostly it's like a teen or tween girl, like coming of age story. And it's very much a manga, and manga is fine. But even when I read manga, I don't read like tween girl coming of age stories because I don't find them particularly interesting. I was told personally by Perch, she's like, you have to get to the 4th or 5th issue or something like that, and then it's really going to feel like X-Men. So I kept chugging along and made it to like the 6th issue, and I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? I love Perch, and he's a great dude. This shit still don't feel like X-Men. So I decided to step out. That was exit stage left for me. I was like, this isn't an X-Men book. I don't know why they called it that. You know, I came back in on the last issue. Maybe something had happened, and nope. You know, it's weird too. The only heroic characters or protagonists in the book are all obviously girls, but every male character presented in the book is just kind of evil. Like the Shadow King is kind of this evil guy. The cult leader obviously is a man. There's a father out there that's like going and hiring teenage or maybe preteen like girl prostitutes and stuff like that. And it's one of the main characters' friend's dad. And you're like, man, she really doesn't like men or something. But it's a strange book. And I think it reads perfectly fine as a manga. And it reads perfectly fine as not X-Men. But once you throw Ultimate X-Men, there is expectations that it's going to be a fucking X-Men book. And I would say that not even the main character, Armor, she's not even a mutant. She gets her powers from a talisman. She doesn't have an X gene or anything like that. And it is completely removed from anything going on in the 6160 universe and what are they building to with the Return of the Maker. It's like, and it's all other universe and stuff like that. So if you're looking for X-Men, stay as far away from that book as possible. If you want a cool manga in an American formatted sized book, you know, with colored pages, go check it out. If you like stories about girls coming of age where all the male characters in the book are evil, you know, this is probably going to be the book for you. But the fact that it says X-Men has the level of expectation that it might have some fucking X-Men in it, and it absolutely doesn't. And I'm baffled by that one. And you can kind of see it in the sales, other than Ultimate Spider-Man. And I think maybe Ultimates is kind of held out sales. You're starting to see the interest in the sales dropping. Obviously, Absolute Universe has popped off and it's taken a bunch of the top spots because it's the new thing. But you are seeing the interest pretty steadily decline, at least with the numbers that we do have. And it's certainly happening with Ultimate X-Men. And I don't blame people because I expected it to be an X-Men book, and it's the furthest thing from that. Ultimate Black Panther tackles the continent of Africa and all the strife that is taking place between warring factions therein, featuring the likes of a morally gray Killmonger, a mutant freedom fighter, Storm, and of course the regal T'Challa and his supporting cast of Wakandan royalty. Writer Brian Hill's Ultimate Black Panther has established itself as a compelling addition to the Ultimate Universe canon. The book's focus on the lore associated with the nation of Wakanda in this new universe, as well as Vibranium and its enigmatic opposite material, has made for wonderfully surprising storytelling and is sure to continue in the issues to come. This one I find like the most boring book. You want familiar elements that let you know you're reading a Black Panther book, whereas you have very familiar elements in Ultimate Spider-Man. He's in New York. A lot of the supporting cast are there. There are some tweaks to them, but it's pretty familiar, but it's different. You know, you've got Uncle Ben alive. You know, Peter Parker is married. He's an adult. Gwen Stacy's with Harry Osborn. It's different. When you get to Ultimate Black Panther, shit, there ain't much different other than he's with Okoye, and who gives a shit about that? And then, you know, you look at Ultimate X-Men, and it's so different. You're like, this isn't even X-Men. Marvel haven't had a successful Black Panther comic book in years upon years at this point. Brian Hill did the Killmonger miniseries, which is absolutely fantastic. And he's doing a pretty good job here, but I fail to see the reason to even check in on it after a while. I was like, oh, it's just a Black Panther book, and almost nothing is different. I don't think making Moon Knight, like half of him was Ra and half of him was Khonshu to make Moon Knight. I do really like the art from Stefano Caselli because he's a great artist, but it really isn't enough to really save that book. Not that it's bad. It's not bad. It's a better book, I think, than Ultimate X-Men. But there isn't enough like interesting going on there. And this is a book that definitely suffers from kind of waiting for the maker to show up. They're just kind of sitting there, not doing much. And they introduced a couple of mysteries in the first issue. And it was like they fucking forgot of like, who's the insider that allowed the, assassination on T'Challa's father? Like that's the big hook for the first issue. I read, I think, through issue 5, and they never even addressed it. They acted like it never even happened. Like they hadn't discovered that there was an inside man. They had a fucking mole. They never got to it. I was like, I don't get it. So me personally, I think Ultimate Black Panther is just so blasé and such a basic bitch Black Panther story, which I don't have a problem with, but why is it Ultimate Black Panther? It should just be the Black Panther book. You would just have to tweak a thing here and there, and it would be perfectly suitable for that. Like it doesn't make sense to me the way they even have this. You know, I like the idea. I like the creative team, but they haven't really done anything with it. So I found that one pretty... I don't even know if I dropped it. I think I just forgot to keep reading it. I think I just kind of fell off at one point. And then I was like, oh, yeah, there was another issue of Ultimate Black Panther. Should I go back and read it? Nah, I don't think there's a reason for me to go check that one out. Last but not least, Dennis Camp's The Ultimate serves as an alternate version of the familiar Avengers team from Earth 616. This superhero team is considered a terrorist organization across the globe, having been branded as enemies of the world by the Maker and his villainous council of underlings, focusing on a younger Tony Stark operating under the name Iron Lad, a version of Captain America who has been awoken into a world where America no longer exists. a Reed Richards who has been forced into the role of Doctor Doom, and a number of reimagined versions of the characters like Thor, She-Hulk, Hawkeye, and more. The Ultimates has been the book for readers to experience the largest scale look at the brand new universe. One of Marvel Comics' most politically charged current releases, The Ultimates hasn't shied away from the complex issues that reflect the real world, all while delivering an exciting superhero underdog story. Underdog story. These guys are fucking terrorists. They charged the White House and just started blowing people up. Now, at least they actually saved somebody there, because apparently they were saving America Chavez. But just in the last issue, I did a video about it with Jim. They're just going around and blowing up buildings. They're just going down to protest in Central America and frying police officers and killing them and melting their uniforms onto their faces. So they're pretty much terrorists. And this is my favorite book out of them. It's not the best book. It might be the worst written. But Dennis Camp is so over the top with his stupidity that it does make it a lot of times enjoyable. The last two issues, not so much, because this last issue was just kind of depressing, and there was almost no fun other than the crazy bat top, over the top shit that Matt Murdock was saying, like during this big memorial service. And then the issue before that, it's like a big brawl with like Zen Hulk in heaven. And I don't remember what the name of his team are that are fighting for him. I just remember Fat Tiger eating it and not making it out. I was disappointed by that. But for the most part, there's just really weird, wacky shit going on here. There's not really a story being told. It just kind of hops around from place to place. Like, all right, let's go attack the White House. Let's go to Gamma Island and meet all the freaks and the ultimate monstrosities. And I love those goofy little bastards, but we haven't got to see them since that issue, which I find to be completely depressing. They do a really serious book, explaining how Reed Richards became Doctor Doom and the maker like forced it on him. Very much like it basically ripped right out of Game of Thrones with Reek, where, you are Reek kind of thing. And he finally accepts like his new name or whatever. That could have been all right. But once again, he like goes over the top and reads like, sometimes I get depressed. And then he like looks away and he goes, I call it my negative zone. I was like, what is going on here? That's the negative zone in the Ultimate Universe. And Dennis Camp really has a penchant for going so far over the top with his political sermons that it does become enjoyable, because it's so fucking stupid that you can laugh at it like really hard. So in that respect, I do find the Ultimates probably the most enjoyable book month to month, because there's so much goofy, stupid bullshit that you can laugh at. But I am getting very depressed that we haven't gotten to see fucking Crab Hands and the Walrus Boy and the fucking Never Ending Nerve and Diaper Neck. I mean, I fucking love Diaper Neck. She should be the leader of the monstrosities. But this book is an absolute joke. If you take this thing seriously, like, you're an idiot. This book is fucking atrocious. It's terrible. It's so bad it ends up being funny. But anybody talking about how great this book is, you don't understand good storytelling. This thing is an absolute, it's a fucking parody of a comic book. If you want to go read the Ultimates and see a good alternate version of the fucking Avengers, go read Mark Millar's Ultimates. The actual really good team, the one that people actually like, the one that they based the entire Avengers team in the fucking MCU on, is Mark Millar's Ultimates, because it was badass. No one will ever base anything off of Dennis Camp's Ultimates, because they're a complete fucking joke. And it's a joke book, but it's at least funny, because Dennis Camp's such a dipshit writer is probably the best way to describe it, that he can't help himself but to make himself look really fucking stupid on a regular basis. And I do enjoy it on that level. But otherwise, I find the Ultimate Universe be completely tedious, at a standstill, waiting for the maker to return after 18 months. I still like Ultimate Spider-Man because I'm getting a version of Peter Parker I like. Now that he's actually out there fighting crime, I enjoy it more. But the Ultimate X-Men isn't an X-Men book. I find that problematic. Ultimate Black Panther, way too close to the regular Black Panther. And it probably should just be the regular ongoing series in the 616. And then the Ultimates is so bad, it's hilarious. So, 1 out of 4 ain't bad, I guess, thus far. But we will be getting Ultimate Wolverine, something I am looking forward to. I love the design on that one. And I imagine we're going to be getting some other Ultimate kind of characters. But if you're buying into this and you believe that in 10 years there will still be a Marvel Ultimate Universe, you're out of your fucking mind. They're going to drop this thing as soon as it kind of flatlines on sales, which, other than Ultimate Spider-Man, it actually appears to be happening in pretty rapid succession. You know, it feels like some of these books are going to start failing pretty quickly. If you appreciate what I'm doing here, bringing some levity, a spotlight on the comic book industry, what's working, what's not working, and in this case, the Ultimate Universe, which I don't think really is working on most levels, and you would like to support me in my mission to continue on the love of the comic book medium and have some honest discussions about it, the best place to do that is Think Critical Patreon. If you haven't visited there, we got lots of different tiers, lots of different podcasts that you can enjoy, exclusive videos, things of that nature. There's a link in the video description. I do want to invite you to come visit me, see if there's something there for you, and I guarantee you will not be disappointed.